Alrighty guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about building a roll cage. So we have a 92 RX-7, Mazda RX-7 that we're going to be building a 850 cert cage for drag racing. I'm going to take you along the way, talk about the processes, give you some tips and tricks. You want to strip down to your interior, get everything out of it because you're going to be building, you know, base plates and building things around it. Highly recommend removing the windshield. So the very first thing you want to be doing when you're building a roll cage is you want to figure out what you want to do with the car and you want to get yourself a rule book. So this particular car, it's going to be running in a drag racing series. So we have, and they run NHRA standards. So we're going to be, you know, following the rules to accommodate, to get it certified for 850 class. There's just different regulations involved with tubing sizing, diameter, wall thickness, your base plates, how many bends, how many bars, things like that. And a drag race cage is a lot different than like a drifting cage or a road race cage. If it's just gonna be a street car and you're never gonna do anything with it, I'd still try to follow some sort of a rule book, only because it just helps. You know, obviously the rules are there for safety, so it just gives you a good baseline. Obviously you can tweak a few things, you know, maybe if you want to keep interior or certain aspects of the vehicle, I would just try to follow some sort of guidelines. Don't just get some fence post and stick welded together and call it a cage. You know, remember the roll cage is there for your safety, so keep that in mind. We just like to make it look as badass as possible. Get yourself a rule book. Obviously the latest, don't get one from like, you know, years ago, because they do change. We're gonna be using Chromoly on this. This car already had a cage in it. It was done years ago, not up to spec, so we're getting a nice new cage to spec, so you can see some old base plates that were there. All right, plugging away on the rear here. We're just gonna be running a tube, tie the two strut bars in together. We're gonna be plating this flimsy ass sheet metal. You don't want to be welding to the factory sheet metal because it's pretty thin, so you want to reinforce it, spread the load a little bit. We got to make it round, so I'll show you a nice little bump roll trick. All right, that's looking pretty good. We'll throw some tacks in here. We'll start giving a little heat and beat, get it shaped real nice. We'll fill this and we'll blend all that. It'll be nice and strong. We got our strut bar, base plates, all welded in, blended. Look at that. That looks pretty damn good. That goes one piece. So go ahead and knock out our strut bar here real quick. I made a mock-up piece, and I know it's gonna be level, so I decided to grab myself a level. I went ahead and I shaved it down to the shape that I want, because it's not, obviously it's not a perfect cut. Get this thing pretty much where I want it. So now I have to copy this onto a nice straight tube. So I'll show you. Get yourself some tape. This is our top of our tube. One strut bar, check. There's the mock-up main hoop, and that's where everything's gonna be based off of. So I got the mock-up main hoop figured out. I did the rear bars also, and then we went ahead and fabbed it all up. Running some bends and just welding a bunch of pieces together. That way we make sure everything is nice and tight and right where we want them, and then we take this information, build a main hoop, and copy it exact, because you don't want to be burning through the expensive stuff. So. Hey, all right, all right, all right. So started on the rear XBar. We're gonna connect the back half of the cage all together with an X brace. Figured out my notch angle. Got our 2 pieces notched. So this is the test piece. What I do is I'll actually run a sleeve. I'll measure the ID, the inside diameter, and I'll just find a sleeve that I can slide in. And this way I can figure out my orientation of the notch, and I can also adjust my measurement, you know, figure out how tight I need to be or how loose. So as you saw earlier, I can get that in there, get that marked up. Go ahead and get it tacked, you know, right where I need it, and then I can go ahead and copy this onto a straight bar. But this way you get that nice tight fitment. The back portion of the cage fitted right where we want it. Still got to get our D-bars in place, but right now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull the XBar out, and I'm going to weld our rear tubes. I'm going to weld those in pretty solid, and then we'll get all our pieces back in. And we'll do some passes on there in the car, so we get a nice solid kind of where we want it. And then I'll go ahead and take this back portion out and weld it off of the car, so I can go ahead and get to everything. Now we got this thing out safe and sound. You'll see we'll be able to weld the backs, the tops. Just get some nice beads all the way around on this back section. What we're gonna do really quick is we're gonna brace our points. So we'll get a bunch of crossbars in there, just some bracing to kind of keep it in place as we weld it, so when we put it back in, it'll go right back where it came from. So then that turns into that. Another pro tip I'm gonna give you really quick. If you don't have a whole lot of experience with the material you're using, it's good to maybe run some test pieces. So I made a few notches, and I tried out a few different, just tried out a few different heats and amperage and techniques, just to make sure, you get a good weld. So don't be afraid to run some practice pieces. All right, let's get back to work. our mock-up piece. Got it nice and tight. Looks good from here. Yeah, we'll do some nice dimple ganger across there, and we'll be fucking rocking and rolling. Look at that. Yeah, that's gonna be dope. So there you have it. I like to do a little kick up in the back there to get some more headroom. Rock and roll. We got our mock-up piece here. Now we're transferring into our one unit, and I'm actually using this to figure out the angle because they're coming out and they're twisting and turning. So we have our piece in the bender at the degree that it's going to get bent to, but now digital angle finder, and we're going to place it on our piece here. It's like 19 degrees. We'll put that bar back in here at the position where we want to bend, and we'll bring it down to 19, and that'll copy our tube. We got our forward bars in, got our dash bar in, everything's looking really good. We got our front base plates in. We're gonna start working on a roof bar. We're just gonna connect from there to there diagonally to give it a little bit extra support. And then we'll start working on some door bars. Before we get there, there's only one thing left to do. It's dimple time! All right, moving on to the roof bars. Got our mock-up piece here, the windshield bar, and we're gonna be doing some roof crossbars. I feel like an X roof bar just kind of completes the cage, ties all the structures in together. Yeah, so we call that blang blang pinky ring. Check that sucker out. Got a nice little spider action under here. We got all the welding done from the bottom to the top, from the bottom to the top. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop our tacks off our base plates here, and there's a hole that's drilled on the floor already, so base plates will slide out, and then this cage will actually drop through the floor, and that'll allow the whole cage to lower down, so that way we can weld the tippity top. All right, see, we got our cage dropped down and our holes here. So we were able to get the welds, and then this back part we'll probably get from the back here, and then we'll get some here, and then we got a small little window we can get our tops welded all up in here. No one said it was going to be easy, but it's a whole lot of fun. All right, well, that about wraps up the yoga session. Got all the welding done up on the top. So now we'll pop this back up and we'll slide our base plates under, weld that up. We'll fab up our door bars really quick. I'd like to still keep it movable so that way we can slide it forward and be able to weld the door bar on that side, and then we'll slide it back. Got this super badass welding hood holder from Motion Raceworks. As you're welding in the car, got a nice little spot to hold your welding helmet, so shout out to them. And I'm also just kidding, that's actually for steering wheel and or helmet. Phil was nice enough to add that to his cart. So, you know, when we were test fitting them and getting everything mocked up, found a good spot for that. But as I'm welding, I'm like, hey, you know what? Nice little holder. So, all right, we're gonna get back to it. Alrighty, we got our base plates welded in. We got our door bars tacked in. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna slide the cage forward. That way we can get to all our pieces on the door bars. We got our door bars in, fully welded. So right now we're getting the cage squared back up, getting it locked down where it needs to be, where it's gonna live. Mocked up our D-bars and then decided we can weld the bars to the base plates, and then that way we can go ahead and just pop them in, weld it to the main hoop. Dimple gang is complete. Went ahead and welded it up. Gave it a bunch of tacks with steel, and then we went ahead and used silicon bronze. It's a little bit easier to use when you're welding thicker metal to thinner metal, as well as it does give it some flexibility, this being now the cage welded onto the chassis. Yes, we're gusseting it, but it does give you a little bit of give. Says it's fucking doing shit, man. Fuck. Alrighty guys, we have finished up the roll cage on the RX-7. We're gonna start off with the extra badass dimple die gussets right up front here. They do serve the purpose of connecting the cage to the chassis, giving it some rigidity. Moving on into the cockpit, we have Motion Raceworks steering column. So completely deleted the factory column, the factory dash like bar that holds everything. We are gonna put the dash back in, and we're gonna make some tabs to kind of give it that OEM look. Really nice piece. This is their DIY version. So it comes with just this shaft. It comes with, I'll show you on here, a little quick release. Comes with this little nub, and then it comes with this shaft. So then you can go ahead and kind of build off of it, fabricate some pieces. But I did have to make some bracketry for it to hold together. They do sell them for car specific, but they didn't have anything for this badass ride. Another awesome product, billet turn signal switch. I mean, really cool. Obviously their steering wheel real nice. And then my favorite part, the welding helmet holder as you're welding. It's used for either a steering wheel holder or a racing helmet. But one thing I didn't mention is that when you're building the cage, whoever the driver is, whether it's you or the driver, to come and do a fitting. Phil's a tall guy, so we had to make some accommodations for him. One being we had to make a new seat bracket and lower the seat down as far low as we can, and we had to make sure we had adequate head clearance. Even with the seat being low and having your helmet, you want to make sure that you have enough clearance for your forward bars to clear your head. So we were able to make those adjustments, make it super nice and tight for them. Also the steering, you know, you got to make sure that the steering's in a good position for the driver. So just keep that in mind when you're also building a cage, is to have driver fittings. You don't need to do a crossbar and you don't need to do an X-bar, but I like them. I like to tie it all together, especially on the X. Like, they only require one main crossbar, but I figured, you know, why not just connect the dots and completely finish it off. So we got that. You got your windshield bar to connect it up there, obviously dash bar, base plates on the front. They do have a spec 6x6 minimum. I added the strut bar to connect, you know, the actual strut towers together. Some cages I've seen them connect to the strut bar, but again, I want to kind of spread the load evenly, and just the way I like to do things. On the main hoop here, standard main hoop configuration with the crossbar for your harnesses. D-bars is a drag race spec requirement. They all require D-bars for them to come down. And then you got your base plates. We did some risers on it just to kind of pick it up because it's had like a funky angles. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. All information on like drag race specific stuff can be found on either NHRA's website or SFI. Hope you guys enjoyed the process. It was a lot of work, a lot of fun. I think it came out really cool. Car's definitely going to be a lot of fun to drive. Can't wait to hear it rip, and can't wait for Phil to have some fun with it. All right, well, stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.